You know Blackpool? Yeah, Blackpool. You know our good friend Blackpool, the 2004 BBC series starring David Morrissey, David Tennant, and Sarah Parish, among some other notable faces like Steve Pemberton, Brian Dick, Mr. Mosley from Downton Abbey, and Argus Filch. Yeah, you know the one. It's the story of absolute piece of human garbage Ripley Holden and his long-suffering family, and how their lives get thrown for a loop when a man is found dead in Ripley's new amusement arcade on its opening night. Detective Inspector Peter Carlisle is brought in from out of town to investigate and promptly falls in love with Ripley Holden's wife, Natalie. Ripley and Natalie's children are understandable train wrecks. Drama ensues. If you still don't recognize it, but you ran in similar Tumblr circles to me about 8 or 9 years ago, you might recognize this famous clip of David Tennant singing The Gambler into an ice cream cone next to Brian Dick, a small child. Cool. And, oh, right, before I forget to mention it entirely, it's a musical. But it's someone's idea of a musical who has never, ever seen a movie musical in their whole life and just invented their own definition because it doesn't work like any other screen musical you have ever seen. It's almost a little off to call it a jukebox musical, which means that all of the music is pre-existing popular songs by other artists, because unlike an actual jukebox musical, where the performers sing the songs themselves, with instrumentals often rearranged or at least re-performed for this new iteration, they do things a little differently. In Blackpool, they just sing under the existing vocals. And when I say under, I mean just almost as loud as the track, with choreography. They're not lip syncing, they're definitely singing, just, oh, it's so strange. I've known Blackpool for a long time due to the aforementioned fandom proximity. I'd seen nearly all of the musical numbers, a select few, many times, but I'd never gotten around to making the small commitment of actually watching the 6-hour-long episodes. I recently made that commitment with the intention of doing some commentary on the absurdity of this nightmare enigma production, because I was sure the gaps in musical numbers had to be awful. And why was this made in the first place? How? But the thing is, I watched it and it was good. It was good. Good. I liked it. Listen, I couldn't believe it either, but it was lifelike. It was well written, well acted, compelling. I cried very briefly and only once. The human interactions, the family dynamics, the romances, they're all true and real, and I really didn't expect to find that, considering most of what I knew of it was like David Tennant and Sarah Parish having a dream sequence pillow fight. And that's just it. Despite the integrity of the story and the characters, the one thing that really still sticks out as bad and unnatural, the fucking musical numbers, man! But you can't separate Blackpool from the music. It is there and it is not trying to hide. It is incapable of hiding. A perfectly fine scene will be plodding along and then all of a sudden the Davids are tangoing and the tonal whiplash is severe. That's why what I've done is, I've ranked all 23 musical numbers from Blackpool from worst to best, so you don't have to. Because I knew that if I started talking about it, you would just be off right away to rank them yourself. Because I know you're like that, so I thought, no, I'll help out my good friend, you, and do it for you, so that you don't have to. First, let me establish my system. I have graded each song on a scale of 1 to 5, in 5 different criteria, and then averaged them together so that each has a final score, which they are then ranked by. The criteria are: character development. Does the musical number add depth to the character narratives, or at least elaborate on the emotions? Entertainment value. Is it a romp? Is it a banger? Or is it just generally visually pleasing? Is it fun to watch? Cringiness. This criteria is scored in reverse, in that the cringier, the lower the score. Basically, how much do you just hate to see it? Physicality. Does it look like it was choreographed by a high school theater kid enlisted to be the dance captain for a middle school's production of Guys and Dolls Jr.? Or is it a little bit better than that? And then the 5th category is Allison bullshit. I had to make sure that the ratings didn't go too uninfluenced by my highly particular and definitive bias, so I developed this score based on my personal preference, despite actual production value. Any that came out with the same total average score, I ordered them based on personally determined merit. I'm gonna count down from number 23 to number 1, and remember, I am an expert, and these rankings are universal, and I promise that your opinions will be the same as mine, which is why this is my responsibility to do this, really. Oh, and obviously I'm gonna spoil everything and anything, any conceivable plot points, so if you don't want this rich narrative ruined for you, come back later, but for now, let's get rolling. Coming in at the bottom of the list, number 23 is Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. I hate this dumb number. This is a personal affront to Queen and Freddie Mercury, and so that I can take it personally, I'll go ahead and say that an affront to Freddie Mercury is an affront to bisexuals everywhere. Ripley tries to convince Steve Pemberton to stop being so pragmatic about the fact that they have no money, and he takes them on this uncomfortable jaunt around the immediate vicinity, and it's completely irrelevant, awkward, and laughable. It truly feels like a couple of middle school teachers making a video to be shown at a pep rally, but also with these sickening graphics. It's just a perfect storm of embarrassment. Number 22, You Can Get It If You Really Want It by Jimmy Cliff. This song is the second number in the whole series, and it is so boring. It makes for a really weird vibe because, as I'll talk about a little later, the first number doesn't exactly alert you to the ground rules for musical numbers in the rest of the show. When this one starts, it kind of makes you go, huh? Oh, that's how we're doing this here. Okay. Ripley is breaking the fourth wall. He's leading the worst conga line ever. I think he might have even been freestyling his choreography. Regardless, it's super forgettable. And as the second number of the first episode, it really doesn't set you up to expect much. Number 21, Brilliant Mistake by Elvis Costello. This is another just really boring number, though slightly less embarrassing than the last. Ripley walks around, D.I. Carlisle talks to this girl, Natalie is unsettled at work, Cheyenne is outside, and that's about it. Number 20, I'm Gonna Make You Love Me by Diana Ross and the Supremes. This one is reminiscent of You Can Get It If You Really Want. It's a lot of Ripley leading another conga line around the casino, which, by the way, I haven't mentioned yet, is just the ugliest fucking casino I've ever seen in my life, and I'm from Atlantic City. The only thing that this number has going for it over that one is some mildly inspired choreography. It's kind of fun. Number 19, Invisible by Alison Moyet. This one is one of the few numbers I didn't even know fucking existed until I watched the show. Ripley's friend, I think his name is Terry, standing by as this little northern specter, and it gets a Mr. Cellophane moment while Ripley beats the shit out of him in real life. I gotta say, I don't care about Terry, and I don't think anybody could. Clearly not Ripley, even though he does later apologize, and he gives him a condom, I think, as an apology. Number 18, Don't Leave Me This Way by the Communards. This one is truly wacky. I believe this entire number is supposed to stand in for Cheyenne's walk down the aisle at her wedding, and it's an absolute fever dream. A brief contextual rundown. Ripley's 20-year-old daughter Cheyenne is getting married to a man her father's age, who, by the way, is really the only decent, upstanding, and stable man in this whole fucking show. Thank God for Mr. Mosley. Though he does slide in on his knees and dance on her brother in an unsettling way, considering Denny just came out to her as gay like hours previous. But putting all that aside, if you can, there's cheerleaders and an old lady choir and this one couple who were supposed to be in a ballroom dancing competition in the next hall over but got the rooms mixed up, I think. And fucking Peter Carlisle worming his way into the situation so that he can eye fuck the mother of the bride. And who is this guy? They make it seem like we should know who he is, but this is the first time he's appeared. And all of this is just the walk down the aisle. It's a fucking mess, but like, it's pretty entertaining. Number 17, She's Not You by Elvis. The concept behind this one is kind of solid, I guess, but the whole ordeal is executed pretty gauche. Piece of shit Ripley is having sex with his wife Natalie and imagining all the young girls and prostitutes he's fucked instead, and those women are playing a stand-up bass. It's awful. Number 16, I Second That Emotion by The Miracles. Okay, we're getting into it now. When I was 16, this number might have actually contributed to my sexual awakening. I was like, oh my god, David Tennant is a sexual being, so am I. But it's a dream sequence, and it's just goofy, it's unnatural, and the way it plays out when it's over just ruins the moment, which is probably the point of being shaken from the dream sequence. Number 15, There Goes My Everything by Engelbert Humperdinck. Man, so many of these are people fucking. So this one is a little boring, but it does have some depth to it. Ripley knows that Natalie slept with Carlisle, and she and Ripley sleep together, and it's very emotionally charged, so spoiler. At the end of the show, Ripley makes one of the few benevolent moves he makes at all, and actually lets Natalie go because he realizes that they'll never be happy together, and she was happy with Carlisle, which makes me think that perhaps this song is him deciding to let her go, kind of saying goodbye. So it's sweet, except for Carlisle standing outside of their home after Natalie told him that she can't run away with him. Get away from their house. Number 14, Ooh La La by Faces. I'm surprised this one is actually ranked this high because I find it pretty pointless and forgettable, but I think what saved it is the fact that it's pretty inoffensive. It employs this classic Blackpool tactic of beginning a song in the middle of an ongoing scene, and the characters snap their head to the camera to indicate that we are entering music land and leaving the real world. Every character gets a moment to claim a bit of the song and frame it in their own personal context. And also, this happens. Number 13, Knock Knock, Who's There by Mary Hopkin. I've seen this one many times because I love this song, and I've always wondered what exactly had Ripley crying on the ground at the beginning and then prompts his actions through the rest of the number, and I probably could have guessed. His life is falling apart. He's found out that Natalie signed away the flats that he was gonna level so that he could build up his dream casino hotel. So instead of going home and talking it out with his wife, he kicks out all of the tenants by force and fucking burns the flats to the ground. Wacky man. It is so strange the way all of the tenants are looking at him at the end like, we understand and feel for you. Why? It's a weird one, but I like it. Number 12, Cupid by Johnny Nash. The structure of this one is pure Blackpool. Kind of a spiritual sister to Ooh La La and that kind of structure that I talked about, except this one I think employs it much more effectively. And I just spilled wine on my pants. This is the second pair of pants that I've spilled wine on in 2 days. Fuck me. It really evokes what I think the music was supposed to accomplish all along, like satisfying the desire for real life to become a musical sometimes. How cathartic it would be to have a backing track rise up from the silence and invite you to express what you're feeling through a relevant song. It's really just a lovely little collective of plaintive moments that solidify everyone's truth of character and where their arcs are heading. Also, I have to admit that this one might have gotten a bit of a nudge for mouth shapes. Number 11, White Wedding by Billy Idol. Ooh boy. I gotta say, I do not really know what is supposed to be going on here, but I like it. I think it's supposed to be this like fever dream of Ripley's because he's losing his grip on reality or something. But what does this bit even mean? Like, why would he let this watch like gone on long enough? Who's dreaming this bit? I don't. I'm kind of skeeved by the Stephen Cheyenne stuff here, but man, I don't know what to tell you. I'd make the rules. Number 10, we are in the top 10, and rounding it off at number 10 is Should I Stay by Gabrielle. I think about this number a lot. I'd never heard this song before I first saw the video, and now I get it stuck in my head approximately once a month and have for the last 8 or 9 years. I think this whole number is just so romantic, sensual, intense, and it feels like two people falling in love. I have to say, until I fully watched the show, I did not realize that Carlisle was lying to Natalie here, and that she did not know that he was the DI trying to pin her husband for murder. That is, it's kind of thrown my idea of the piece for a loop, but I cannot help the good memories that I have of it. Again, I do make the rules. Watching it in context, though, really did give it just a bit more depth, because the way Carlisle talks to her, you as the viewer truly can't tell if he is just being really good at being a manipulative cop,
I feel like I've been waiting for you.
or if he is actually fallen and is just bearing his soul to her. It's also a phenomenal and absurd instance of Ripley appearing where he should not be. This happens quite a few times. He pops up in numbers between Natalie and Peter, when actually he doesn't even find out about their affair until the very end of the series. Number 9, Squeeze Me, Please Me by Slade. Alright, listen. Remember when I said that I Second That Emotion was a sexual awakening for me? Well, then I saw this one. Yeah, listen, it's really hot, okay? It truly does drive home the chemistry between Peter and Natalie, and it's also a very well-deserved moment of Natalie letting herself go and taking what she wants. It's fun, it's carefree, it's victorious, and Number 8, The Secrets That You Keep by Mud. I just think this number is so smooth and well executed. The song is on point narratively. Natalie has just found out that Peter is a DI, and she's kind of giving him a chance to fess up, but he keeps on lying, as he is wont to do. And then, also, Ripley is there in disguise, but he's really not. And Carlisle takes a moment to get mad at him for keeping secrets from him, even though he's not there and not part of this situation at all. Isn't there's some like religious saying that when a man and a woman are alone together, that the third person in the room is the devil? The third person in the room is Ripley Holden. He's always there. Number 7, Viva Las Vegas by Elvis. The opening number lights up on the Holden family. Everybody is getting ready and all dolled up for something. I wonder what it is. Everybody is dressed to the nines, even Danny. Everybody's having a great time singing along to this good old Elvis song that is being pumped through the speakers to the whole house, right? Wrong. It's a musical, as you'll soon find out. Fucking got you. I literally could accept this as a weird opening to a show that's not a musical. I'd say fine. It's just this one, and the rest of the show is played straight. I'd say whatever, funny, cool. Anyway, it's a really dope opening number, and it's a great establishing sequence for the family. It's fun, and it's quintessential, and it really just kicks things right off by saying, look at this poor fuck, he literally thinks he is Elvis, but he looks like this. And lives in Blackpool. Number 6, The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. Like I mentioned, if you've seen anything from Blackpool, the very tail end of this number is probably the bit you might have seen. And honestly, the wacky end bit pulls in a lot of this number's points. There's a heavy Allison bullshit influence on this one. But like, it's The Gambler. They had to do it. The song was unavoidable, and it's used in a way that I think is pretty satisfying, whereas Viva Las Vegas kind of established personality. I feel like this number establishes flaws and personal conflicts. Ripley's a cocky bastard. Natalie is bored as hell. It places Danny at the flats the morning after the murder, which is a super integral plot point. And Carlisle has to find out where he's getting his money. We're in the top 5. Number 5. Walk Tall by Val Doonican. Oh man, I love this one. I think I just really like this song. Honestly, the kicker for me is that finally, Natalie gets rightfully very angry at Carlisle. She knows he lied, she knows he used her, and the song is punctuated by her saying my favorite saying, "You lying two-faced bastard, you are full of shit. You're poison." Since I never really had a sense of how truly awful and insidious Carlisle was before watching the show, I kept having moments of like, wow, he is a lying two-faced bastard, he is full of shit, he is poison. Poison. Number 4, The Boy with the Thorn in His Side by The Smiths. I really had to respect my system and hold back from making this number 1 or 2. Fuck, I love this number. This is usually my first or second choice of example when I need to explain to somebody exactly what Blackpool is. This is what I truly thought Blackpool was for so many years. And like, it is! This number exists. It just makes you throw your hands up like, who gave you money to do this? This song is so fucking esoteric. You can't even pretend to understand how it's relevant to the scene. The dancing is so... it is so good. And might I add, easily replicable. And Danny is so awkward and weird, and Carlisle is a smug bitch. And these all sound like criticism, but get this. I fucking love it. I love it. You can't take that away from me. It's phenomenal. Number 3, Always Something There to Remind Me by Sandy Shaw. Coming in at number 3 is actually the finale of the whole show. Everybody gets a genuinely pretty happy ending in a pretty healthy way. If it's not what they want exactly, it's probably what's good for them. And it feels really nice. Ripley has this sort of Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas morning transformation where he ends up giving Cheyenne and Steve his blessing, although he does make a speech at her wedding that is completely about his own personal growth and not about her at all. He gives Danny the casino so that he can turn it into a trendy gay club, I think, and he lets go of Natalie and tells her to be with Carlisle. It's just pleasant, and the soundtrack just makes you excited for their future. Number 2, Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. I think this number could be a standalone music video. You don't need any context at all to get the story here. It is fully self-contained, more than you can say about a lot of these musical numbers. We understand what's happening here. Carlisle is instigating a police raid, and you can tell that it is personal from the way that he looks at them. You can see that he has shit with Natalie. You can see that Ripley hates his guts. You can tell that everybody is hiding something from someone else. And then there's this. There is nothing like the Davids drowning each other in the pool. It is so bizarre, and it is so priceless. It's just a really well-articulated pairing of story and song, in my opinion. Coming in at number 1 is These Boots Were Made for Walkin' by Nancy Sinatra. And this is the true spirit of Blackpool. The closer of the first episode. First standoff between Ripley and Carlisle while Danny awkwardly hovers by. Everything about this situation harnesses the kind of energy every song in this show should have harnessed. Basically, I think there should have been two kinds of musical numbers. One's like Cupid, and one's like this. Use one type to establish emotions, and the other to establish energy. This song is fun. It's not a Wild West shootout. It's a strange, almost flirty little I'm gonna get ya situation. The choreography is on point in a very Blackpool way. It's the best example of what's going on inside, I think. It's my favorite thing, possibly, that I've ever experienced, ever, so far in my life. That's why number one. And there you have it. That is every number in Blackpool, ranked from worst to best. Now you know what order to watch them in if you ever need a highly structured thematic experience with steadily increasing quality to a peak. In the event that you cannot and or will not watch the show in its entirety. I'm really glad we were able to do this, finally, to get together, you, me, and our friend Blackpool. I know we're all really busy, but this was really great. It's just really important to keep in touch with friends these days, especially friends as good as our friend Blackpool, our mutual friend. They really value you, and I bet they'd appreciate if you made more of an effort in the future to, you know, spend more time with them. I'm just saying. I think you should watch Blackpool. And now, in the spirit of Blackpool, I'll insert my own irrelevant dance number and play us out by putting my knowledge of that fucking Smith's choreography to use.
The boy with the thorn in his side, behind the hatred there lies a hunger in his heart. Oh, how can they see the love in our eyes and still they don't believe us? And after all this time, they don't want to believe us. And if they don't believe us now, will they ever believe us? Oh, 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 oh.